This conference will now be recorded.
Great. Let's start this session where we are going to take up the three RCs. Except two or three questions, most of the questions in this particular caselet were easy to moderate, apart from two or three questions which had slightly confusing options, is what I believe. Let's see how all of you have done. There were total of 15 questions with putting up three RCs together. Ideally, you should have done say nine or 9 plus correct and not more than 2 or 3 incorrect. So that is what my expectation would be, that 9 or 9 plus correct with not more than say 2 or 3 incorrect questions in this RCs. Anushka, yes, we have taken live classes earlier on that, and we will be taking more live classes on the tricks for RCs, especially for specific type of questions. Let's move to the first RC. So Anushka, we keep separate sessions on concepts and separate sessions on question solving. So don't worry, we will be covering everything. Parnika, you will be getting it tonight after the class. So everyone, what's your answer for question number 1 of this passage? No, Andrila, we are just starting. So C or E? I am seeing the fight between C and E. Option number C says the existence of certain factors adversely affecting members of minority groups show that the financial markets do not function as the conventional theory says they function. Option number E says, since transaction costs for stocks, bonds, and other financial instruments are not equally apportioned among all minority group members, the financial market is subject to criticism. Now, if you all of you would have gone through the first couple of classes of RC, or the videos or the recordings of the live classes, we talked about something called scope, tone, and purpose of the passage. Now, whatever answer I'm going to select for the main idea of my passage, it has to cover the overall scope of my passage. Do all of us agree on this? That the scope has to be holistically covering the entire passage and not just a part of the passage. Now, if I talk about covering the entire scope of the passage, can you confirm to me that option number E, which specifically talks about only the transaction costs and put only the transaction costs as the reason for the kind of criticism which financial markets are getting from the perspective of minority groups, is the transaction cost only the reason? So if transaction cost is not only the reason, can I say that option number E kind of talks about a part of the passage, limits the scope of my main idea, and hence probably I should go for option number C, which is more holistic in nature, and it conveys whatever is trying to be conveyed in point option number E is also ideally covered by option number C. Can I say this? The entire passage is more about that how everyone perceives a conventional theory around the financial markets and how it is not true, because there are certain reasons which impact minority groups in a negative way. Does this make sense to everyone? Does this make sense? Anushka, are you able to understand? Andrila, Harsh, perfect. So option number C is my correct answer. Anyone who thinks that any other option should be the answer? Any other option which you want to discuss? So the correct answer for question number 1 is option number C. Option number C is the correct answer. And main idea of the passage is an important question type. If in the exam you are going to get 3 to 4 RCs, at least 75% of them will have the main idea question in it. So it's important for you to understand the nuances around the main idea of the passage. It's an important question type. 8 out of 10 times, you will be asked this question in the exam. And almost every time you will see that you can eliminate the options based on the scope and tone when it comes to the main idea of the passage. Here also we just used the scope parameter to arrive at the right answer. So scope and tone, they majorly take care of your main idea of the passage. So I guess Anushka was asking the trick. So the trick for main idea of the passage is to go by the scope and tone. Only when you find two options which are having the same scope, then check out the tone. Otherwise, you don't even need to check out the tone. Only the scope will serve the purpose. Question number 2. This should be an easy one. Question number 2. Right. This is option number B. This is very easy. It is directly mentioned in the passage that the analysts who were performing the studies, they did not want to complicate their studies. They did not want to go for those descriptions which were not simple and have could have influenced the study part. So option number B, very easy, clearly mentioned the passage. If you will scroll up in the passage, you will find this statement directly mentioned. The only thing which is different is, instead of those performing the studies, it would be written the analysts chose a simple description of the references of the references for influences on competition. This was very easy one. I believe most of you have got it correct. Question number 3. This is slightly tough. I will put this into a tough category, and this question again is going to be asked in at least one of the RCs you will get in the exam. It's another tricky way to ask a question. I'm seeing differences between A, C. I also see D being thrown into the ring. So A, C, and D are in the race. Okay, so A, C, and D are in the race. So B and E eliminated. So tell me the thing which author has taken up as the case study in the passage, and that is of minorities. Is it an example, or is it an example, or it is talking about the omissions, or it is criticizing certain presuppositions of a proposed plan? Is there any plan being proposed in the passage? Let's talk about option number C first. Is there any plan which is being proposed? Pratap, Brinda, is there any plan which is being proposed? Any solution which is being proposed? If any solution for this problem was being proposed in the passage, then I would have said that the passage could be argued and could be seen as criticizing the presuppositions of a proposed plan. But there is no plan which is being proposed. as the solution for the problem mentioned, I will eliminate option number C, because there is no proposed plan itself which I could read in the passage to be able to know that whether its presuppositions are being criticized or not. I am left with A and D. Between A and D, what will you go for? Right. Why will I not go for A? Because the examples which the author has used, they are not supporting the conventional generalization, but they are opposing it. Correct? Are they opposing the conventional generalization or supporting it? Is the example of minorities supporting the conventional generalization or opposing it? So that's how the trick of the entire RC lies in identifying the keywords. If you could identify the keywords and link whatever you have read with them, you will be getting 80 to 90% accuracy in RCs, and that's what you need to develop. Showing that the view opposite to the author is self-contradictory. Nowhere in the passage is the author getting self-contradictory. Parnika, do you find author getting self-contradictory anywhere? The author's main point is argued by. This means that if I have arrived at a certain thing as a main point which has been mentioned by the author, then how has he built the entire set of arguments for his main point? That is what the question means. The question is asking, how has the author built the entire passage his for conveying his main point? Do you get what the question is referring to, Parnika? And if that is what his question is asking, then will option number be my answer or not? Correct. And can I now say that by showing that omissions in a theoretical description make it inappropriate in certain cases is my best possible answer from the given options? Can I say that? So my answer for this question is going to be option number D. Everyone understood? Anyone has any doubt in this question? Moving to question number 4, and probably the toughest question of this entire passage. I'm sorry if you will get this kind of a question in exam. The line numbers would be marked in the passage. I forgot to mark the line numbers. Otherwise, it would have been easier for you to locate this. I see the race between B and D. What is being mentioned when it is, what is the transaction cost inequality referring to? Can anyone tell me what is the inequality of transaction cost referring to? What is the inequality of transaction cost referring to? Is anyone telling? We say it is assumed that the transaction costs for various types of financial instruments are equally known and equally divided among all the community members. But is it so? What is the difference being referred to in the passage? Who is going to tell me? Okay, so are we referring to the inequality which is happening because of lack of access to something? Is the inequality happening because of lack of access, or is it happening because you are smaller in stature and someone else is bigger in stature? Why is it happening? Why do minorities have inequality when it comes to the transaction costs? Is it because they lack the access, or is it because of the socioeconomic differences, right? Now, so because of socioeconomic differences, what happens? Do they lack the access, or someone comes and charges them more, or say someone makes them pay more, or it's something which is out of their this thing. The system is creating difference in the income distribution by saying that the minorities are penalized. It is not being said that someone goes and extracts money from them, but they are given less opportunities to make more money. Am I correct? Now read the 5 options. Now tell me in the 5 options, where is the opportunity not being given because someone is small, or someone is coming from a different kind of a background? Where is a person being deprived of the opportunity because of his background? Out of the 5 options. Arshin, what do you think? Exchange rates in dollars for currencies of different countries? Definitely no. Stipends paid to different attorneys for preparing legal suits for damages? No. Prices of similar goods offered in large and small stores in an area? No. Fees charged to large and small investors for purchasing stocks, and maximum amount of loan extended by a bank to businesses in different areas. On what basis does a bank decide the maximum amount of the loan? Based on the different areas. Can these different areas be seen as a different background of a business? Is the person who is given lesser amount being deprived just because he's coming from a specific area? Is the smaller investor, by being charged higher fees, being deprived of any right? Or he is just paying say lesser fee because he's a smaller investor, because no one is going to charge a higher fee from a smaller investor, fees will be charged large from the larger investor only for purchasing stocks, because that's how the stocks work. But in option number A, the businesses are given lesser opportunity because they are coming from a specific area and not coming from a specific area. They are being deprived of say access to capital, access to opportunities, just like minorities are being done. Will I go for option number A or will I go for option number B, considering how they are getting correlated to my entire premise of inequalities to the minorities? Do we all understand why am I going for A and why am I not going for other four? Other four options nowhere are depriving anyone of the opportunity. This was the toughest question of the passage. Question number 5. This should be an easy one for all of you. Yes, the correct answer is option number C. Option number C is the correct answer, directly mentioned in the passage. Harsh, please go through the passage once again. You will find it directly mentioned in the passage. Option number C is the correct answer, as rightly said by most of you. Please go through the passage again in case you are not getting C. It is a directly mentioned statement in the passage. Anyone who has any doubt in question number 5? I see most of you getting C, so I'm taking the leeway to move to question number 6. Question number 6. Aditya, in exam you will only get to mark one answer. You will not get the chance to mark two answers. I am seeing the fight between B and D. Ashin, what are you getting? Harsh? Andrila, what is the answer you are getting? I'm waiting for Andrula's answer and then I'll share my answer. And yes, the correct answer is option number D, as rightly said by most of you. Now, what does option number, and there was a fight between B and D. Let's discuss them. Option number D says, those who engage in financial market transactions are perfectly well informed about the market. B, market structure and market dynamics depend on income distribution. And my question is, according to the passage, a questionable assumption of the conventional theory about the operation of financial markets is dash. What is the conventional theory? Conventional theory is, as per all these analysts and all who research about the market and people who are involved in different transactions, they are all correct. They because according to them there is no group to which any limited access is being given. This conventional theory says that everyone has equal access. This is what is the conventional theory, right? That everyone has equal access. Then the author has come up with a fact that no, minorities do not have equal access. So what is the questionable assumption of the conventional theory? That if they believe that everyone has equal access and they believe that is right, that particular thought is incorrect. And that's what option number D says, that those who engage in the financial market transactions are well informed about the market. Option number B, market structure and market dynamics depend upon income distribution, is correct. This is also a faulty assumption, but this is not the broad level faulty assumption. that covers my overall conventional theory, and that goes and challenges my overall conventional theory. My conventional theory is everyone has equal access to the markets, and this is based on what analysts and people who do transactions they say. I have to challenge what those analysts and people doing transactions say. And that challenge I'm doing in option number D and not in option number B. Is it understandable now that what point I needed to challenge when I use or say when I mark B or D as my answer? B is not wrong, but B is not challenging the core premise which believes that the analysts and people doing transactions they know everything. Everyone understanding this? Anyone who has any questions or queries around this? Okay, so no one has asked any doubts, so I'm assuming that no one has any more doubts in this question. Moving to the next question, next passage. Easier passage. I hope all of you get most of the questions correct in this one. I expected all of you to get it correct, and I believe that except one, all of you have got it correct. The correct answer is option number D. Option number D is the correct answer. I see that who did Bhavya. If you go to first paragraph of this passage, it is all these points are mentioned except point number D. All the 4 points are mentioned as the direct benefits associated with backward integration. The first paragraph, which introduces backward integration, specifically mentions A, B, C, and E as the advantages of backward integration. This was a factual question, fact-based question. Ideally, all of you should have got it correct. If anyone has not got it correct, please try to ensure that fact-based questions you get correct, because here you could not have got a simpler question, because all these points were directly mentioned in the paragraph itself, which introduced backward integration. There is no trick to solve this question, except that just going back to the paragraph and find out what all things are mentioned. And this is no, whenever you get answers questions like which of the following is present or which of the following is not present, except, that means it's the easiest question, because all but one options will be mentioned in the passage directly. So that makes the question very easy for you. In case you will have any questions, feel free to reach out to me about this particular question. Answer is D. Question number 2. Right? Again, most of you are correct. The correct answer is option number A. That is, if the assemblers would start buying out the firms which make critical components, the independent suppliers, they are going to withhold the technological innovations from the assembler, because they will always fear that they will go out of business. So the entire premise of the passage is where how any such activity being done by the assembler could create a threat in the mind of independent supplier, that they may go out of business, and that's where they would withhold providing the assembler with the new stuffs happening, with the innovations happening. That is what is being mentioned in the passage. Option number B, couple of you answered option number B. It says experience improved profit margins on the sales of their products. No, this is not something which they would do. If you would read the passage, it specifies at one point that when assembler would start acquiring the companies which provide the critical components, the suppliers of other components would get worried, because tomorrow this company can go and acquire another company which is supplying a component which means that all other companies, all other suppliers which are supplying the same component may go out of business. And that is where these suppliers, they are going to withhold sharing the technological innovations from the assembler. It's not about the profit margin that they are worried about. The suppliers are worried about going out of business, and when it happens, they withhold the technological innovations. Yes, Anish, you are correct. And Anju, Vanishri, Panika, yes, option number A is the correct answer. Understood? Why am I not going for B and why am I going for A? Question number 3. This is the toughest question of this passage. So even if you get it wrong, don't be worried. This is the toughest question of this passage. Question number 3. I see B, I see E, B. Okay, I see A, B, C, E all in the race. As expected, because this is probably the most confusing question. Andula says C, Panika says A, Anupriya says B, Anju says A. Ashin, what's your answer? Aditya says A, Ashin says B. Okay, let's go to the last paragraph. Okay. However, moving away from the backward integration is not a complete solution either. Developing innovative technologies require independent supplier of components to invest huge sums in R&D. The resulting low profit margins on the sale of components threaten the long-term stability of these firms, because the ability of the end product assemblers to respond to market opportunities depend heavily on suppliers of components. Assemblers are often forced to integrate by purchasing the suppliers of components just to keep their suppliers in business. Has the passage so far before this paragraph been talking about in favor of backward integration and the advantages of backward integration throughout? Let's check it out. So there are four paragraphs in this passage. Modern manufacturers who need reliable source of material and technology advanced components or to operate profitably face an increasingly difficult choice. So first one is the premise that whether to go for producing on your own or to source it from different suppliers. That's para one. Para two talks about advantages of backward integration. Para 3, a company that decides to make rather than buy important parts can, now it starts talking about the danger. Now it starts talking about the danger of backward integration. Right, Anushka. So what should be my answer? So what Anushka has just typed in the chat window is perfectly correct. That at the end, the author indicates that contracting with the independent suppliers is the way forward. And in option number, in paragraph 3, he has mentioned the danger which could happen if backward integration happens without taking individual suppliers in confidence. And in para 4, he further elaborates on it. So can I say that para 4 is qualifying the para 3? Can I say that the argument of para 4 is qualifying the argument of para 3? And if I can say that, what should be my answer? Questions arising from the earlier discussion are identified as departure for further study of the topic. No. A specific example is presented to illustrate the main elements of the argument. No. The last in a series of arguments supporting the central argument. No, it's in fact not at all supporting. C, evidence is presented in support of the argument developed in the preceding paragraph. A viewpoint is presented which qualifies one presented earlier in the passage. Will I go for B or will I go for C? Tell me between B and C. A, D, and E are definitely not the answers. We all agree. Between B and C, what will we go? Correct. Option number B is my correct answer. All of you clear with it? Option number B is the correct answer. Tell me 4. 4 is very easy. All of you should get it correct. Directly mentioned in the paragraph, in the passage. Question number 4. Harsh, no, Desha, it is because huge investments are required. The profit margins on component sales are low. It is directly mentioned in the passage. According to the passage, which of the following relationships between profits and investments in R&D hold true for technologically advanced companies? If you will go back, you will see it is that D is directly mentioned. Last paragraph. However, moving away from backward integration is not a complete solution either. Developing innovative technologies requires independent supplier components to invest huge sums in R&D. This results in low profit margins on the sale of components, which threatens the long-term financial stability of these firms. That is where my answer lied, directly mentioned in the passage. Option number D for question number 4 is my answer. That is because huge investments are required, the profit margins on component sales are low for technologically advanced companies. When they invest in R&D, the huge investments which happen in R&D leads to this. This was clearly mentioned. Harsh, Anju, you should not have done it incorrect, but it's okay. Just ensure that next time you are reading it a bit more carefully, especially when it comes to fact-based questions, because again, this was a fact-based question. It was not an inference or a conclusion or a main idea. These are the questions which will ensure that you are increasing your marks in the exam. So do not get them wrong, especially the fact-based answers. If you have any problem in fact-based questions while solving them, feel free to reach out to me on WhatsApp separately as well. I'll help you out. Moving to passage 3. Easy one. I'm hoping for many correct answers. Question number 1. Wow. I see everyone getting it correct. I see everyone getting it correct. Not even a single different answer. Perfect. C is the correct answer. Early chartered trading companies should be more seriously considered by scholars studying the origins of modern multinationals. Perfect. Option number C is my correct answer. Option number C is my correct answer. Or, and can anyone tell me why are we not going for option number E? Is it because of the scope? Why are we not going for option number E? Anyone? Okay. Is anywhere in the passage author has referred to the scholars? Has anywhere in the passage author referred to scholars or referred to scholars considering that how should they treat the early chartered trading companies to the modern multinationals? Let's go to para 1. The modern multinational corporation is described as having originated when the owner managers of 19th century British firms carrying international trade were replaced by teams of salaried managers organized into hierarchies. Increase in the volume of transactions led to this. 19th century inventions like this were facilitating coordination of managerial activities. 16th and 17th century chartered trading companies, despite the international scope of their activities, are usually considered irrelevant to the discussion. The volume of their transactions is assumed to have been too low, and the communications and the transport of the day too primitive to make comparisons with modern multinational interesting. Is anywhere the word scholar referred to? Anupriya, where is the word scholar referred to? The management structure of early chartered trading companies are fundamentally the same as those of modern multinationals. Is C the point of the author or E the point of the author? Let's go back to para 1. Should C be my answer or E be my answer? Anupriya, do you want to change? Should I go for C or should I go for E? Right, we will stick to C because of the scope. You all are correct. I was trying to confuse all of you. You are correct. We will stick with C. C as the correct answer. C is the correct answer for question number 1. Moving to question number 2. With all of you getting main idea correct, I hope that most of you are going to get a very good accuracy in this particular passage. Andrula says A, C, A, C. I'm getting A versus C, A versus C. Anushka says E. We have nowhere talked about the political role of these institutions. So the moment I see the political word in my option, I will eliminate it because of scope. Anushka, do you understand? The moment I see the word political, I will eliminate the option because political word is nowhere brought in. The correct answer is option number A. According to the passage, the early chartered trading companies are usually described as irrelevant to a discussion of the origin of the modern multinational corporations because people think that they had very low transactional volume mentioned at the end of the first paragraph. See analogs of 19th century British trading firms. This is again something which is not relevant to the paragraph. It will not be a wrong thing, but the passage, in the context of the passage, early chartered trading companies, they are irrelevant to a discussion of the origins of the modern multinational is what makes more sense, makes more meaning rather than option number C. Option number C may be right or wrong. It's not explicitly mentioned in the passage, but passage in the first paragraph specifically mentions that the early charter trading companies, they are irrelevant to a discussion of the origins of the modern multinational corporation. A is the correct answer. Tell me the answer for question number 3. I will eliminate the option E. I will eliminate option E as soon as I see the word political in it. The correct answer is option number C. Ashin, you are correct. Option number C is the correct answer. Author has specifically talked about, yes, Andrila, you are correct. Option number C is the correct answer. Author has specifically said that the early chartered trading companies, they were very similar to the largest multinational corporations, and this even he has proven by talking about the kind of hierarchy required, the kind of managerial traits required, and even talking about the high transactional volumes these early chartered companies had, and saying that the early chartered companies were complex enough in scope to require a substantial amount of plan and coordination on the part of management is correct. But that is not what is my inference. That is the reason of inference. My inference is these early chartered trading companies were as integrate in their activities as those carried out by the largest multinational corporations today. And that is where the author is trying to say that the management of the MNCs is very, very similar to the management of these early chartered companies. So A is not incorrect, but it is incorrect inference. It's an argument which is used to develop C as the inference. My question asks me inference, I will mark C. Is it clear to everyone who marked A that why am I not marking A and why am I marking C? Anyone, any doubt? Okay, perfect. I'll move to question number 4. This should be easy. Question number 4. Question number 4. Yes, I'm seeing all A's. And A is the correct answer. Yes, Himanshi. Yes, Anjali. Yes, Arshin. Yes, Shweta. A is the correct answer. A is the correct answer for question number 4. Correct Bhavya, correct Saransh, Vanishri, Snehal, Anushka. I see wonderful. All of you are getting A. A is the correct answer. I believe none of you is not, none of you is getting any other answer. A, yes, Harsh. A is the correct answer. Perfect, perfect. I'll move to question number 5 then, because all of you got 4 correct. 4 was A. Waiting for answers for question number 5. This is also an easy one. Perfect, perfect. All of you are getting B. B is the correct answer. Question number 5, B is the correct answer. Yes, firms that routinely have a high volume of business transaction, they necessarily need to adopt hierarchical management structure. Perfect. B is the correct answer. I see all of you getting it correct. Yes, Nehal. Yes, Anjali. Yes, Shweta. Anushka. B is the correct answer. So how many of you got 9 or 9 plus correct? Shoot your number of correct answers. Snehal, Vanishri, no need to worry at all. We have a lot of time to prepare, lot of time to practice. Always, whenever you make a mistake, just analyze that what made you commit that mistake so that you don't repeat it. Harsh, there is no need to worry. Angela, that's good. Sonu, again, no need to worry. As I say that if you are getting less than 9, don't worry. Just ensure that whatever mistakes you have made here, you have tried to understand the reasons of those mistakes and you don't repeat those mistakes. And whenever you get a main idea of the question passage answer, always go by scope and tone. Okay, Anju, we will just Anjali, again, no need to worry. As I said, we have time. Udeshya, yes, we have GK session at 10. Anju, what are the answers for the first 3 questions of the first passage? Yes, Vani, we have GK session at 10. CBD is the answers, the CBD are the answers for the first 3 questions of the first passage. Yes, we have a live GK session at 10. Anushka, let's connect on WhatsApp and we'll talk tomorrow over phone and I'll help you out. 10 to 10:30 will be the GK session, half an hour. Okay, great. So thank you everyone. I'll provide you the recording of this session as well. And people who are appearing for IPM 2021-22, they can skip the GK session unless you just want to attend it for some GK fun. Great. So thank you everyone for joining. We'll meet up again in the next session. I'll share the recording of this session as well. Thank you.